Today's parable of the sower addresses one of the most common and perplexing questions many people have about the life of faith. How can it be that children who grow up with the same parents, go to the same parish, hear the same homilies, go to the same CCD program, have the same role models in their lives, can have such different responses to the message of the gospel, the message of the Catholic faith? How is it that one child can grow up into a lifelong devoted Catholic, easily believing and taking consolation in the truth, while some other sibling, again with the same exact environment, struggles with doubts and never seems quite able to take that step of faith? Why is it? The parable makes it clear that the defect is not in the Word of God. The message proclaimed in every Catholic church spread throughout the world, the message proclaimed in the Scriptures, is a message of power. It's a message of grace because it is God's message. It proceeds from His lips and does what He intends it to do. The fault, the defect, is in us. And in this parable, He likens us to soil. Now, if you're anything like me, when you hear this parable, you immediately wonder to yourself, which sort of soil am I? Am I the shallow one? Am I the one with thorns? Which am I? The truth is, brothers and sisters, all of us experience the truth captured in this parable in different ways throughout our lives. Perhaps as children, we received the message of God with simple faith and took joy and bore fruit in that message. Only later in life to face some trial or doubt and to have lost that gift, perhaps for a long time. There are ebbs and flows, peaks and troughs in our life of faith, again reflected in these different types of soil. The good news is, wherever you happen to be tonight, whether you're shallow soil, whether you're almost choking on all the anxieties of your life, wherever you happen to be, Jesus, the sower, desires to work on you and me like a tireless gardener. As some of you know, I grew up right down the street in Westford. I don't know what the soil in Chelmsford is like, but over in Westford, you dig down just a little bit and you find boulders, huge rocks. My mother was a very avid gardener and loved planting trees and shrubs in our lawn. And sure enough, every time she dug into the earth, she would strike a rock. And sometimes she would spend days digging around the rock. Sometimes she'd enlist the help of my brother and I to tie a rope around the rock and haul it out. When I was called on for these sorts of tasks, I usually thought something like why are we doing this? Can't we just give up and have a lawn and not have to have trees and shrubs? But my mother was devoted to the garden, devoted, and tirelessly weeded and spaded and dug up those boulders and brambles because she desired the garden to be a place of beauty and life and joy. The truth is, that is what Jesus desires for you. He desires to pull up the weeds, to remove the brambles, to soak you with life-giving rain and sunshine, and he will tirelessly dig, if you let him, to remove the boulders of sin and doubt and sadness in your life. Much of that work he does through the sacrament of reconciliation. Much of that work he does when we make ourselves available to him in silent prayer and meditating on the words of the gospel. Gardening, like the life of faith, requires constant toil. If a garden is let alone, no matter how wonderful it is, no matter how fruitful it once was, if it is let alone, it becomes a place of weeds and brambles. And that's true for us. When we are far from Christ and his church, we become that weed-filled, unprofitable garden. But when we open our souls and hearts to Jesus, when we let him dig and clean and clear, we become fruitful. We become people of beauty, supernatural beauty, who yield great harvests of love in the world. May we allow the sower, the gardener, Jesus, to work on us. And may we allow him to make us fruitful gardens of grace and life in this world and the world to come.